Thank you for joining us today. And on this episode of The Bright Ideas and Bold Voices, we have the founder and owner of Progress Advies and Progress Caribbean. She is a friend to many, an inspiration. She leads with her voice and her charisma and energy. She is beloved by many. And a little bit background on her firm and what she stands for. Progress Advies and Progress Caribbean is a coaching platform that coaches organizations in inclusive leadership. And not only in leadership, she manages and coaches organization in all facets of connection. I'm proud to say joining us today is Bianca Maasdamme. Thank you for taking your time of your day and joining us today.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you.
Of course, for a person such as yourself, I want to say more, but thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very happy that I can be here and that the team that is with me all the time, 24/7, inclusion and inclusive leadership, that we can discuss about it because it's worth everything to me.
And to start off our interview or start off our conversation, I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to start working in the field of inclusion, diversity, and equality? Was there a specific moment where you experienced this and that set you on this path?
That's a good question. And looking back from now, I think that this team has been with me maybe all my life. Inclusive leadership is about a sense of belonging and a sense of uniqueness. The connection between these two that's where inclusion starts. And what you see in a lot of organizations is that we all have a tendency to understand this. Of course, it's important to be part of a group. And of course, you can be yourself here, but in reality, it's very, very hard. And I discovered that many, many years ago when I started working. How can I be unique? How can I be myself? And how can I still belong to the rest and be included on what they do? Although maybe it's not something that I was used to do. When I came to Holland, I was 18 years old. And before that, I lived in Holland too. But when I came back after my high school in Curacao, I discovered that suddenly I was a foreigner, something like that. And I was like, whoa, why am I a foreigner? I used to live here. I'm Dutch. I speak the language fluently. And I want to be here because I want to be part of this country. I want to be a student here. How does this belonging works? And I think that's where I started to think, how does it work? But not only who has to manage this? I know my own part, but especially in organizations, you see that leaders often choose people that look like them. And in my personal opinion, and for now also in my professional opinion, that's not how it works. If you want to be really effective, if you want to be really creative, if you want to be really a good organization, you have to have the differences together, and you have to pick people who don't look like you because you're already there. And what you see is that a lot of time people do that, and that's where inclusive leadership comes in to help the leaders realize that the way they do things might be okay. Let's say on a scale of 8 to 10, a 7, but you can also make it a 9 by being better. And then you have to be an inclusive leader. And well,
Perfect.
that.
Very true. I full-heartedly agree with that. So you mentioned that, of course, you speak Dutch fluently. You've lived both in the Caribbean as well as in Holland. And when you mentioned that when you came back, there was a sense of, did you feel an identity shift or a sense of identity crisis?
Yeah, definitely. The question, where do you come from, might sound very innocent. I'm just curious where you come from. But if you hear it every day, you know that people look like you're being a stranger. You're different. So that's why I ask, where do you come from? Just by my looks, not by my language, not by my knowledge, not by my education, just by my looks. And that's when you realize, okay, you're not part of them, because otherwise they won't ask, where do you come from? Like they're already there and I was new and came from wherever.
I'm guessing that at a certain point, being asked where are you from, continuously on and on, when was the point that you thought to yourself, okay, this entire aspect is not working? And how did this affect your ideology and thinking about the future that merges between inclusion and diversity?
Yeah, this is where equity comes along. It's okay to ask someone, where do you come from? As long as you come from someplace yourself. If we meet other people and you say, well, I'm from the Caribbean, for instance, where do you come from? Then the conversation is equal. And then equity comes around. I realized that when you do that, it's okay. But most of the times, that's not what's happening. So, and then in organizations, if you have people who are already there, never ask, where do you come from? What are your habits? Then as an organization, you tend to say, well, welcome for you being different. Really nice that you're from the Caribbean. And then after 3 months, for example, they say, well, so nice that you're from the Caribbean, but here in Holland, we work like this. So your belonging means that you have to assimilate instead of being yourself and contribute.
Very true. You also mentioned that in some cases of companies, they tend to, the word diversity goes around, but the
Yeah.
practice of diversity is lacking in certain aspects, and equity there as well. What are some of the most common barriers you've seen companies face when trying to create an inclusive workspace, and how had they overcome them?
I think the most important thing is that everyone realizes that it's about them. Not only the people of color, not only the women, not only the elderly or the youngsters, but also the people who are always there, who are always in the lead of organizations. Let's say all the men who always led the organizations, they have to realize that they're also part of this discussion. And when you realize that it's also about you, it gets a bit awkward too.
Mhm.
That's what you see now, is that people say, well, I never realized that this theme was important for me. So now um, in an instant, I'm also the white man. I said, well, yeah, you are a white man. And you never realized that being a white man is also something, like being a woman of color or being a youngster or being someone from the queer community. Being someone in this diversity discussion, neurodiversity, for instance, means that once you step in, you can do something. So that's why it's important for everyone who is in this leadership theme to realize that you're part of the discussion also, and that's okay.
In some cases, diversity or inclusion can be seen as hard topics to unveil and talk amongst the workplace or with your colleagues. What are some of the advices that you give during your coaching or training lessons to these leaders on approaching such a sensitive matter?
Yeah, well, I have some. Maybe one of the most important things is to distinguish responsibility and guilt. You're not guilty if you never realize that this topic is also about you. You're not guilty if you your ancestors, for instance, had a part in the, for instance, the slavery in many years ago. You're not guilty, but you have to realize that you are responsible for the solution, also responsible. So it's also about you. And the difference between guilt and responsibility is maybe one of the most important themes, I think.
Mhm. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I love that response. Thank you, Bianca. Okay. What steps can organizations take to ensure they are building a diverse team while still maintaining the right mix of talent and skill?
Yeah, it's always about quality. And first thing that you have to realize is that you are building a better organization by having this diversity in your organization. Diverse teams perform better only if they're managed in an inclusive way. There have been many research about this. Not diverse teams are easier to manage. If people think the same, have the same history, have the same interests, as a leader, it's very easy to, or not very easy, maybe it's easier to manage a team. A team with a lot of differences is not difficult. It's far more difficult. But in the end, this is where the magic begins. This is where the magic happens with diverse teams. But you as a leader have to really embrace this challenge. And what I do is I would like to have the discussion with the leaders, with the management teams about how they can contribute to the magic that they can create.
When I was back in Mongolia, because I come from Mongolia, we had a lot of business forums. And still now that I live in Hungary and here in Hungary as well, there's a lot of business forums here as well, where the term leadership, management, quality, inclusivity comes in. But as a person who trains and works with leaders in management positions on a daily basis, for you, what is the definition of a good leader?
A good leader leads by example. A good leader recognizes when people are being led out or not included. A good leader can really step up when there's discrimination or other kind of bias or prejudices. And a good leader is also able to start, create, and maintain a good dialogue. And maybe the last thing, a good leader knows how to recognize the different people, knows how to recognize quality and act upon it.
Perfect. In your view, what is the difference between equality and equity? And why is equity the more critical goal for organizations to strive for?
A very difficult one, but a very nice one. Equality is saying we're all equal. We're all the same, we're all equal. And it sounds very nice. And if we say we're all equal, we're all the same, then the risk is that you treat people the same, not looking into what do you need as an individual. No, this is how I treat all my people. Equity is about what do you need as an individual to be, in the end, treated the way you need to to be treated, and also in a way that you can contribute at your max to the goals of the organization.
Mhm. And based on equality and equity, why is it very important for organizations not to just maintain or goal, aim for equality, but to equity?
Because the only thing that we know for sure is that change will always be there. People will be different. You will get new colleagues. You will have new business, new developments, new interests, and also new ways of thinking with new people. So if you don't do that, people will go away. They will say, this company is not for me. I know my uniqueness, but you're not treating me for who I am. You're treating me for who you are. Treat me for who I am, and I feel that sense of belonging. And then we're having this equity position. If you don't treat me for who I am, but for who you are or who you think the rest of us is, then we will get to this equality and we will all be the same, which we're not.
Mhm. When talking about equity in the workplace, What would you describe a healthy workplace to look like?
I think a healthy is a difficult question. A healthy workplace is a place where um, it's a safe place, and maybe that's the first thing. You are safe to express yourself. You're safe to develop yourself. You're safe to discuss difficult themes, but it also counts for the other one, which means that it's not about I say whatever I want. No, it's about I want to express myself in a way that fits me right, but still in an environment where I do not hurt the other or say I take your space. We all have to take our space in respect with the space of someone else.
I read this study conducted, it was perhaps published last year or so. I can't recall correctly, but it mentioned that a person that feels belonged or has distinctly felt like they have a role, a, they are seen in this role in the company is very happy. And for them, that constitutes as being a part of a healthy workspace and being a part of a grander scheme. So I think that is also like a key part of having diversity, inclusivity, and equality as well.
Couldn't say it any better. That's what it is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
True, very true. As technology is rapidly growing and developing at a very quick pace, how do you see, in your own personal view, the role of technology in meeting diversity, inclusivity, and equality needs?
Oh, first of all, the way we meet now um, is what technology brought us. You and I can see each other. We can discuss differences from far, far away and yet feel like we're in the same room, like we're having this very close and intimate discussion. That's what technology brought us. Technology can help us to learn about the differences between people, to learn about other cultures, to learn about other themes that are different or important for someone else. So um, education has been far more accessible. So use it. I think that what people try to forget is that you can educate yourself so well. And technology can bring this in so easy. And the only thing you have to do is step in and join the conversation, and also join your ability to learn and to educate yourself. If you don't have never been affected by discrimination, for instance, it's a privilege to educate yourself about it without really enduring it. And I think that's what technology can bring us. What technology brings us, the world becomes so much smaller. We have so much to learn from each other. Let's use it.
True. In my personal view, I believe that with technology and with social media, being accessible and being a part of our daily routines and habits, it gave the opportunity of everyone having their own voice. So, for example, if you go to TikTok or if you go to Instagram Reels, we see a person sitting in their car in a parking lot just mentioning that, oh, today I got this discriminated at this place just because perhaps I was of a certain gender or because I looked a certain way and they just typecasted me. I feel like these situations were happening before, but people didn't feel like they had the confidence or the platform to speak about it. Now everyone is in the same platform and everyone has their own voices amplituded, and we have an audience that actually listens to them now. And
Yeah,
companies are more and more engaging with these aspects of, oh yeah, diversity is actually an issue. We should be helping these people. We should be including more
exactly.
people.
Exactly. I think that in the past, what happened was that people felt discriminated or experienced being an outcast for whatever reason, and they never said it. It's always like, well, let's not talk about it. Let's take it all, swallow it, and just take the next step. And now you see that people talk back. They say, I'm not okay with this anymore. And that's very important. It might get to another awkwardness for people because if you're not aware that this theme is important and suddenly people are going to talk back to you, I can imagine that that you have to develop. You still have to educate and develop more. And that's maybe uneasy, but you have to, because we're talking back. We're here, we're contributing, and we're talking back now.
True. I have this kind of funny thing. When you say talking back, it kind of reminds me of like this generational difference, because when I talk to my mom and when we're having a heated discussion, she thinks of it as talking back to her. But when I'm in my case just trying to defend my stance or trying to explain something to her, she feels it as if I'm trying to argue with her, you know? And I
Yeah,
feel like in certain workspaces or in companies, because of the generational differences, when a younger generation or a more tech savvy person or a person that, let's say, has more boundaries or set boundaries tries to express their opinion, it could be seen as talking back or, oh, this person is doing this just in spite of me. And they're not engaging in a very open discussion and they're not willing to talk about it. As
exactly.
a person that is encouraging conversation and communication on all levels, what is your take on this?
Well, this is exactly what leadership is about. It's really about being able to get this dialogue going, starting, going, and running. You have to do that as a leader. Be sure that this dialogue is common in your organization, that people can really have this conversation without um, being in arguments with each other.
True. There's a wonderful saying that person that cannot communicate will see every disagreement as an argument.
Exactly.
What role do you think companies have in driving societal change, just even beyond workspaces, when it comes to diversity and inclusion?
Aren't we all part of society? So if you're part of a society, and yes, you are, um, then you have the responsibility to make this world a little bit better. Why else are you here?
True.
Yeah, and if you have, like me, children, I've got two daughters, of course, the most beautiful daughters in the world. Um, I really, really, really would contribute to this difficult topic 24/7, day in, day out. So maybe when my children have my age, my dream is that they don't have to explain why diversity is so important and why you have to be your unique self and also feel this really strong sense of belonging.
True. How do you see Progress Advice and Progress Caribbean evolving in the upcoming years to address new challenges or opportunities in this space?
I've got two answers. From one point of view, I kind of live by the day and take every day as sorry as the challenge for what's coming up now. And on the other side, I see in the future people like you and me, my children, the people of the future, to really can make this world a little bit better, because we really need it. Look what's happening everywhere. So if progress can still contribute to making this world a little more uh, equal, a little more peaceful, a little more understanding about each other, I think I will do this work till I don't know when. No.
Beautiful. For leaders specifically, what are the key actions that they can take to drive real lasting change in diversity and inclusion with their teams?
Make it your core quality. I think that's the most important thing. It's not a theme that's in fashion. It's not a theme for now. It's not a theme to please HR. It's a theme that will make your company better. It's a theme that will make you better. It's a theme that definitely will make your employees happier and more likely to work for you. Um, but you really have to make it a core quality. And that's where you as a leader start saying, not only saying this is important, but proving this is important, and not for today, but for the long term. It's really a sustainable inclusion that we are working toward to.
Who has inspired or mentored you in this field? And how has this shaped you and your approach and seeing this situation?
Of course, we have the big leaders, and I think my most important inspiration is Nelson Mandela. Of course, I would say, but also people like Amanda Gortman. She's a real inspiration for me, and I really like to be inspired by people younger than me, people very different than me. My children inspire me, although maybe they're not even aware of that. And my friends, uh, I dance salsa. And the world of salsa is the most diverse world. The world of salsa is about people from 18 till 80, from very dark skinned to very white skinned, male, female, but also men can dance with women can dance with women. And between all the dances, you have this small conversation, and it's always about belonging, about being there. It's not about whether you're the plastic surgeon or the milkman. It's about what's important for you. That world and inspires me every day.
What a beautiful, diverse world.
It is, yeah.
And Bianca, for my last question, I want to ask you for only one advice for the future leaders that would lead our next generations and beyond that. I believe for you, what is one quality that you would advise all these leaders to have?
The quality to really look at someone, to really be able to see what someone's quality really is, what talent is, and not the talent of today, but maybe the talent of the future. So start to really look at people and really encourage them to develop and to educate.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Do you have any final advice or final remarks for our listeners that are tuning into this episode?
Yeah, maybe one thing. Sometimes people tend to make themselves a little bit small. I only have a platform, or I only do this once a week, or I'm just a very small part of this company. Stop doing that. You're worth it. And the company is worth it. The platform is worth it. Your small contribution is worth it. I think maybe that's my main aim. We're all worth it.
What a beautiful saying. In Mongolian, we have the exact same meaning, but in a different saying. We say "Далайд тусал нэмэр," which means a single drop is still worth a lot in the vast ocean. So regardless how small, medium, or large your contribution is, it's still a contribution.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly.
Thank you so much for taking the time of your day and having this wonderful conversation about inclusivity and diversity. and just the overall consensus of what we can do as people, as organizations, as teams, as companies to have a more diverse and inclusive tomorrow. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful, lovely day and hope to talk with you again. And thank you so much.
Yeah, well, it was been a real big pleasure. I really enjoyed it, and I really hope to see and talk to you soon. Thank you.